all the books I've written, I probably feel the most attached to the one about my son.
Light the candles and sink into a bubble bath with one of these authors' books. Welcome to MsMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 romance writers. For this list, we're taking a look at the authors who have written the most engaging and entertaining material, are revered in the genre's community, and have achieved commercial and critical success. We've only included authors who consider themselves romance authors, as well as those who write in English.
I have this theory that all of your books exist complete in your subconscious, and the thing you have to do is get out of your own way.
Number 10. Julie Garwood.
It seems like I just started, and here I am 20 years later, and wow, you know.
Coming in with over 35 million printed copies, 24 New York Times bestsellers and counting is Julie Garwood. A historical romance writer, Garwood is scrupulous in collecting her facts and depicting time periods accurately, a subtle trait of her books not lost on readers.
When the world gets too much, where do you go?
Romance.
She also has a unique ability to craft relatable, quirky, Zooey Deschanel-type protagonists. She's found success writing several different book series, including the Laird's Brides and Claiborne of Rose Hill series, the latter of which saw a novel, For the Roses, adapted as a television movie.
I don't even know if I belong here.
Is wherever you left your heart.
Garwood has also expanded her horizons, writing contemporary romance suspense stories, which has been serialized in Cosmopolitan magazine. Number 9. Susan Elizabeth Phillips.
Football's not the only sport I've written about. Some of my most popular books have been about the most boring sport in the world, which is golf.
You just couldn't have a romance list without including the great S.E. Phillips, a Romance Writer of America Hall of Famer. She pioneered the subgenre of sports romance through her popular Chicago Star series.
I just got this idea about a woman who knew nothing about sports inheriting a professional football team.
Books like Nobody's Baby But Mine charmed critics and fans alike. With readers relishing the sport and love drama series she blends into one tale. She's even been dubbed the Queen of Romantic Comedy. With over 25 novels and counting, Phillips is no stranger to accolades, as she's won the Romance Writers of America's Favorite Book of the Year award on 5 separate occasions. Phillips is unquestionably romance writer royalty.
I've also given birth to a new book, and believe me, it was a lot easier than giving birth to our 2 sons.
Number 8. Kathleen E. Woodiwiss. A pioneer for women and romance writers, Woodiwiss's debut novel, The Flame and the Flower, broke ground for several reasons. At over 600 pages, Woodiwiss struggled to get the book published. However, she refused to redact the novel. Published in 1972, The Flame and the Flower was the first bona fide work of historical romance fiction. She was praised for depicting the protagonist's female character as independently strong and heroic, as well as for writing realistic sex scenes. The book found commercial success, selling over 2.3 million copies. Woodiwiss wasn't a one-hit wonder, as 12 of her 15 novels were bestsellers. Mother of the historical romance, many of the authors that have followed owe Woodiwiss a thank you for her groundbreaking work. Number 7. Nicholas Sparks.
When I was 28, then I'd had a couple of novels under my belt, and it hit me that it was time to chase a dream.
Even the most macho guy out there knows the name Nicholas Sparks. Of his 21 published works, over half have been adapted for the silver screen. And these aren't just tiny films that hit theaters and leave without a whimper. These are box office draws. Novels like The Notebook, A Walk to Remember, and Dear John were major hits. In total, his films have grossed over $800 million. But that's not to detract from his talent with a pen. His paper works are just as popular as the films they inspire. The Notebook, his first major release, reached the New York Times bestseller list inside its first week of publication. Number 6. Denise Robins. Robins was the first president of the Romantic Novelists Association, so we suppose she has some claim to being a romance writer. Dubbed the Queen of Romantic Fiction by the Daily Graphic, Robins was prolific in the romance writing community. She sold over 100 million copies of her more than 170 book collection. Under a variety of pen names, she set a strong example for fellow romance writers with books such as The Cyprus Love Affair, Venetian Rhapsody, The Noble One, Nightingale's Song. Honestly, the list goes on. Though she passed in 1985, her pioneering work still set the standard for romance novels today. Number 5. Jackie Collins.
My women kick ass, they don't get their ass kicked.
Collins was an all-around winner among romance writers. Of the 32 novels she wrote, every single one of them landed on the New York Times bestseller list. That's a feat not easily topped, and all of those bestsellers add up to over 500 million copies of her work sold around the world.
Which is why I write strong women.
Collins' success wasn't accidental, and she can't be pulled in with your average writer. She pushed the boundaries by writing steamy sex scenes and included controversial content. Her first novel, The World is Full of Married Men, was banned in Australia and South Africa, and was criticized by other romance writers for violating decency.
See, I know that you're very good in your research, very meticulous.
Yes.
So I need to know, did you check out all those sexual positions before you wrote the book?
Absolutely. Everyone. That's why I'm exhausted today.
Still, fans approved, to the extent she has 8 movies put to screen.
Lucky Santangelo is back,
Yeah.
and I've written 9 books about her and 2 miniseries. And she's a character that women love because she's just strong.
Number 4. Nora Roberts.
You do receive quite a few awards. Does it ever get old to you?
Oh no, it never gets old.
Roberts is a romance writing machine. She's published over 200 romance novels, which has to be some sort of record. She's written favorites like The Irish Thoroughbred and Spellbound, as well as the ever-popular In Death series under one of her many pseudonyms, J.D. Robb. Roberts is a Lifetime channel favorite. They've adapted several of her works, like Angel's Fall and Montana Sky, into TV movies.
Jack left each of his daughters a 1/3 interest in the ranch.
Us? What?
She honestly has too many awards to count, but it's worth noting she was the first person ever inducted into the Romance Writers of America Hall of Fame. No word if they inducted all of her pseudonyms as well, though.
That's what's amazing about romance, as a big umbrella, is that it's very fluid and it accepts and celebrates and absorbs elements from any other genre.
Number 3. Barbara Cartland.
You know, we were brought up I came out in 1990. Everybody was very moral. We never talked about sex, nor did the papers. Therefore, you didn't know an awful lot about it.
You can't make a list of the top romance writers and leave off the best-selling romance writer of all time. Even if an opposing team member plays better, it's the scoreboard that counts. Not that it matters for Cartland, because she produces quantity and quality.
True romance is what everybody wants. I know in a way it's a sort of fairy story, but it does happen in life.
Her very first novel, Jigsaw, published in 1923, was deemed racy and controversial, which helped it become a bestseller. She quickly became a tabloid name, as she never faltered with her risque works. At the time of her death in 2000, Cartland had published over 723 books, setting some records in the process. Beyond just a romance genre, Cartland is one of the best-selling authors ever.
You've got to keep going. Once you sit down and begin to think about yourself, well, then you die.
Number 2. Emily Brontë. While Charlotte left her own legacy with Jane Eyre, Emily is the Brontë sister that lands on our list. Cemented as one of the most important authors in history, her one and only novel, Wuthering Heights, published in 1847, is considered an English literature classic. The love tale about Catherine Earnshaw and her tumultuous relationship with the dark, brooding Heathcliff commented on social norms, targeting important themes like class, gender, religion, and morality.
Why did you not come sooner? I've waited weeks to see you.
I'm a married woman. Every movement is monitored and remarked upon.
Brontë challenged her time with her writing, which depicted a violent and passionate sexual relationship that did not conform to moral standards. While controversial, Wuthering Heights also had an innovative story structure, which impressed knowledgeable readers. Ultimately, Bronte's only work has been enough to establish a legacy.
Will you give up Heathcliff hereafter, or will you give up me?
Before we unveil our top pick, here are a few honorable mentions.
My work is about time passing and things that go away and you can't get them back.
I think it was growing up in front of a television set. And it's the way I think, and I still do. Still watch a lot of TV. I like it in movies.
Number 1. Jane Austen. While the Brontë sisters each had one major publication that shook the foundations of literature, Austen had 3 novels that can claim the feat. Sense and Sensibility, published in 1811, Pride and Prejudice in 1813, and Emma, 1815, are among some of the most highly regarded works of prose ever written. And yes, they're romance novels. All 3 challenge the established conventional standards of morality, as well as the roles of women in society. Austen specifically targeted the strength of women, as well as the expectation they be dependent on marriage. Her works of romance critiqued British society, inviting her readers to be better and influencing generations of romance writers to come.
You have bewitched me, body and soul, and I love, and love, and love you.
Do you agree with our list? Who do you think is the best romance writer?
But no Cartland book has ever been made into a miniseries.
No,
this
because I was
is the first
too
time.
pure, you see, and they all wanted something dirty and
Yes.
people rolling about naked on beds, and that isn't me, you see.
For more steamy top 10s published daily, Be sure to subscribe to MsMojo.
When I finally wrote my first book, which was The World is Full of Married Men, I really hit on the double standard very heavily because I'd seen it in my own household.